It's loading now.
You can see a note.
Yeah.
It's now streaming live.
Indeed. And we are live now. Thank you. Thank you for being patient with me.
You can see
Ericka, I'll give the floor to you now.
Yeah.
Okay,
now
thank you.
Indeed. And we are live now.
Okay, so I would like to extend a
patient
warm
with me.
welcome to everyone joining us.
One minute. Somebody
Ericka,
has
the
the stream
floor to you
open.
Yeah.
Okay,
now
thank you.
Indeed. And we are live now.
Okay.
No, it's repeating. It's kind of.
Yeah, now it's fine.
What I'm saying, yeah.
It'll be fine now.
So a little do-over. All right. It's better luck running from now. So I would like to extend, like I said, a very warm welcome to everyone joining us on the Zoom meeting and those of us following on YouTube. We understand that these are still really challenging times, and we hope that everyone at home is safe and keeping healthy. And we also hope that the MOOC has provided you guys with an inclusive space for you guys to learn and grow. And we've been deeply pleased to see such a diverse group of active participants. We're now over 94,000 participants from across 180 countries, which is mind-blowing. And we've really just loved reading your comments and understanding all the nuance of your different pronunciations and the challenges that you face. And we greatly admire your efforts in just continuing to develop your pronunciation. So for today's session with your educators and with your mentors, it's meant for you guys to be able to take a look behind the scenes and give us the chance to answer some of your questions. And we've also packed in a little bit of a surprise for you guys. So we'll go through some questions. You'll get to meet your mentors and have some words with Laura. So by the way, I should have introduced myself, but my name is Ericka, and I'm one of your mentors. And now I will pass it off to Amrita, and you can get to know the rest of us.
Thank you. Thank you, Ericka. Well, I'm Amrita. I'm one of your mentors, and we prepared a little question to say that when did we get introduced to English as a language? So along with being a mentor on this course, I also work in the Faculty of Behavioral and Movement Science as a teacher trainer and a facilitator of the program called Mixed Classroom in Practice. I got introduced to English as a link language at home because my parents spoke different languages. I hail from India. My mother's Punjabi, my father is Oriya, and they spoke English at home. So I got introduced to English at a very young age. And then I went to a convent school where I was taught English by Irish nuns. Kind of ironic growing up in India, but quite common actually. Ericka, how about you?
So my native language is technically, or at least my first language is Spanish. I grew up in a Dominican household, but I learned English at the age of 4 when I started school. And now I work in the language I am studying language teaching and language learning. So it's just an interest of mine in general.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ericka. And there's Laura as well. Laura?
Thank you, Amrita. So I'm Laura Rupp. I'm the creator of the MOOC and also the educator in the MOOC. And I'm really so grateful and happy to be able to work together with the mentors on the MOOC, because I could never run the MOOC on my own. I work at VU University. I'm in the English Linguistics department, and there I teach. So I created the MOOC, but I teach regular university courses. And I would say that all of them have to do with language variation in one or the other way. So it's global English, about the spread of English around the world and the impact that has had on people in societies, and also on the English language itself, language variation and culture, post-colonial language and literature. And pronunciation also, but as you might have guessed, it's not like standard English pronunciation, but also allowing for various personal accents, and see how we can make sure that people succeed in society where they have to use English, but also are able to maintain their own accent. And I was introduced to English really late, I think, if I compare, when you were introduced to English. I think I was not introduced to English until I was 12 at school. So now the situation in the Netherlands is very different. So children already get English at primary school and perhaps even at kindergarten. Some at least. So I was introduced to English at primary school. I just had English as secondary school, and I just had English as a subject. So I had no English taught curriculum. And at university, I studied general linguistics, and it was also, I think, all of it taught in Dutch. But then I went to do my PhD in England, and this was really, so I went to England, and then I really only had my school English. And so I did my PhD, and part of the deal there was that I taught classes in return. And so I had then to teach in English, and this is when I realized that there were so many words in English that I wasn't familiar with, or that I didn't know exactly how to pronounce, and just not only in teaching, but also very basic things. And so this is when I really, I would say, learned to use English, and the difficulties that one can experience when having to use English, when not being that familiar with the language.
Indeed. Thank you, Laura. And we are so grateful that you did manage to study and work in English, because we've greatly benefited from your experience and your studies. So thank you for that. Giang, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit more?
Hi, thanks, Amrita, Laura, and Ericka. Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Good morning, everyone who is joining us from around the globe. I think my name is Giang Nguyen, and I'm from Hanoi, Vietnam, and I have a great interest in phonetics and phonology, and in English pronunciation in particular. So 20 years ago, I started to learn English at a university in Hanoi, in the English faculty. Back then I had a great interest in the subject, and so since then the interest has kept growing, until today. So in terms of my professional profile, I used to work as a researcher among other things, in phonetics and phonology in the Ministry of Education and Training of Vietnam. And then I moved to a number of bilateral and multilateral international organizations, including the British Embassy and then UN agencies, like, for example, UNICEF, ILO, and then UNESCO. But that's my basically the professional profile. But as I said, I have a great interest in phonetics and phonology. My wish is to support those Vietnamese learners to improve their pronunciation based on the mother tongue, because my belief, based on experiences, has been that the best way to learn the English pronunciation is to start from your own language, to analyze the differences between the two languages, and then to see what it is that the English pronunciations is different from Vietnamese. Anyway, that's too long for me. Sorry for taking the time. And then I look forward to taking any question in relation to improving pronunciation from the Vietnamese perspective, or from others languages perspectives as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Giang. It's fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And we've been admiring all the work that you've been doing as an external mentor on the MOOC, and we really appreciate that. Ericka, should we start with the questions for Laura that have been placed on the MOOC? Maybe you could start with your set of questions, and then I'll delve into mine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
So here are some of I've selected a couple of questions. So from a user labeled as Tiny M, their question is, in the upcoming lessons, I am hoping to learn more about when it is important and necessary to work on accent reduction and when it is okay to leave it be.
Sorry, yes, I was clicking the wrong button. So when is it important? Yeah, accent reduction. Actually, I would like to comment on that term. So accent reduction is really not a term that we use at the university where I'm at, in the linguistic department much, because reduction, it seems like it's, you know, something that needs to be reduced, or the accent that you have, that it's yeah, it has a kind of like a negative connotation, I feel, accent reduction. But I perfectly see what you mean. So to not have your as many features in from your native language, for instance, in your accent, and when can you let be? It's difficult for me to say, because it really depends on the particular situation that you're in. It would be easy to say, like in your, you know, with your family and friends, you could just have your own accent, and in professional environment, to have less features of your personal accent features. But it really depends also on the professional situation that you're in. Yes, for example, to take myself as an example, so I'm a linguist. I go to conferences, and we like different accents. So we prefer actually for people to speak with various English accents, because this is what we do, this is what we research, or that we're interested in. But I could also imagine that you find yourself in a particular professional situation where it's more important to have, where it is expected to have a standard accent. Or to give another example from my personal experience, I was in my, so I taught at the University of Cape Coast in Ghana, in Africa once, and there I had what I thought to be like not my personal accent, but a kind of like neutral accent. And then I found that the students at the university there, that they didn't actually understand very much what I was saying because of my accent. And then I tried to kind of accommodate to the accent that they had. So it's really difficult to say, you know, this is a situation where it's fine to have your personal accent, and this is these are situations where, you know, perhaps you should try to have less such features in your accent. I think that's the best I can do. So if the you know, if I would know what situation our colleague was in, then I could provide more kind of detailed or tailor-made advice.
I think that's still excellent advice. And I think that there is in general just a lot of, I think, undue shame or embarrassment really that we carry in the markers of our English. And I think we could all just use the advice that it's okay, you know, it's a pleasure to hear.
Yeah, it's perfectly okay to have your personal accent, and that is also not only in the MOOC but also in the regular pronunciation course that I teach at the VU, what I tell the students. However, it is whilst I think it is changing, I can see it, for instance, happening in secondary schools in the Netherlands, where always like British, so RP accent was taught, or to some extent an standard American English accent, that now teachers allow more for their pupils to have a neutral accent. But I think there's still a lot of prejudice and stigma associated with particular accents. So whilst I do allow for personal accent, and I appreciate personal accents very much, and what I would really want is that everyone could just have, you know, the accents that they have and use it in their personal and professional life. I also always try to protect my students and point out to them that, you know, this is what happens in real life, and that they may be discriminated against on the basis of particular features that they have in their English accent. And so what I do in my pronunciation course is then to see, so what features do they have in their accent, and then to kind of work on those features, or see how those features are pronounced in a standard English accent for them to be able to use those features if it was necessary in a particular situation.
Great, wonderful. Okay, so I think that we can move on to our next question from this point. Quit while we're ahead, right?
Yes.
Okay, so here from Kathy, we have the comment, love all the videos. My only question is about the voiced and unvoiced TH sound and how important it is. It's the main thing my students fret over, and I'd love to find a good demonstration video of how the throat and mouth works to create those different sounds. Thanks.
So what videos are there available for practicing the TH sound? Yeah.
Yeah, and how important of a feature it really is.
How important it is. Well, I think it's a very interesting feature. So when I teach the regular pronunciation course at Vrije Universiteit Amsterdam, so I try to develop like a personal plan for my students for features for them to be working towards. And when I ask them what features would you like to work on with me, then they very frequently they say TH. TH, and it's like this feature, I don't know, I think it's a very kind of a socially salient feature, presumably because it does not exist in many other languages. So I think looking at all the languages in the world, TH sound, it's a relatively rare feature, and therefore a relatively difficult feature for non-native speakers to learn. What I've seen from research, so the MOOC we've attempted to base on research that has been conducted into English pronunciation. So what features seem to bear on intelligibility, the way that you understood, or what features seem to bear on the way that you may be perceived socially. And what has been found for the TH sound is that actually it doesn't bear very much on the way that you're understood. There are also many English native speakers of English, who do not pronounce TH sounds, like think of the Irish, for instance, who pronounce t, or think of speakers in London who pronounce f. Yeah, so there are many variants amongst native speakers also. And to the extent to which in which TH sound has been found to bear on intelligibility, it's only when you replace TH by a s sound, so to pronounce sink rather than think. So otherwise, it doesn't seem to be very important, where intelligibility is concerned. And there's a really nice article, and I think I provided a link on the MOOC, where actually one of my colleagues predicts that the TH sound will disappear from native English, from standard English, in the, well, relatively near future already. So I think he was very exact in predicting the date. I think it's the year 2066 that he predicted that TH will have been lost from native English, standard English also, and he attributes this to the multicultural character that London currently has and the influence that London has had on the standard English accent. Because London currently has such a multicultural society, and by many people in London, TH is not pronounced. So the prediction is that TH might be lost eventually. And I always say to my own students who are worried about the TH sound that I presumably will not live to see it. So the loss of TH from English, but presumably they will. So they're young enough, for them to still be around in 2066. So I would be very interested to see whether that's actually the case. So what I would say, it doesn't seem to be very important for intelligibility, but I do know that learners of English, that they would like to be able to pronounce the sound. And I think this is because it's such I think maybe an icon of standard English. It's such an iconic sound because it's so different from the sounds that we find in other languages. And because it is in a way like what I said, a socially salient feature. So whilst I think it's not so necessary, or I wouldn't give it that much priority, if my students want to practice that feature, then I will certainly help them. And as for video, so I think I included one video in the MOOC where TH is, so the th and the is being demonstrated. And I like that video very much. I think it is helpful. But I presume our colleague has already seen that video and is asking for other videos also. And I will have a look, and see what I can find.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Laura. I'm now wondering if somebody's watching this video in 2066,
Yes.
whether the sound still exists or not. I'm curious to know as well. I have kept a keen eye online in our MOOC Live, because we are right now live on YouTube. And there's a question from a participant called Fabiola Silva. And she says, Laura, thanks for your videos on the course. My question, is it possible to have a pronunciation as close to perfect, even without living in a country with the official English language? So say somebody is living in the Netherlands, would it even be possible? But then I'm also curious to know if there is a perfect, close to perfect pronunciation to begin with.
Yeah, it can mean two things, I think. Close to perfect. So close to perfect could mean close to, as close as possible to like a standard English accent, like the English accent or the American English accent, or it could mean close to perfect, like the accent that you would like to have, no matter what accent that might be.
Yeah.
Is it possible? I think it is possible, but it depends very much on the individual. I think it's very, very difficult to develop such an accent.
Yes.
Some people, I don't know, they seem, it seems less difficult for them to develop a particular accent, so they seem to be good at accents. It's the same with language learning in general, and for some people it's much more difficult. And if you're not in, I do think that it helps if you're actually in an English-speaking country.
Indeed.
A lot. And so, like I said, I do think it is possible, but it's not always easy or straightforward. Yeah,
I think there's so much impact of being surrounded by the sounds of a language, whether it's the banter and, in public transport or in a classroom or at work.
Yeah.
And trying to learn Dutch, and that has such a huge impact on how you pick up things as you go along.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Imagine that as well. We have some questions and remarks also from the MOOC, the current session. And we have one from Ria Glover, and I really wanted to share her story. Ria, of course, thanks you a lot for the course, Laura. And she's learned a lot from it. She says that, this pandemic situation globally has had a negative impact on the industry that she belongs to, which is the construction industry. And some companies have shut down their operations and many have lost their jobs. Even large companies are struggling to sustain the financial needs of their employees. And there's a lot of competition in the market for an engineer like me, which is Ria. And she says, so I decided to change my career. I'm a civil engineer by profession, and I'm preparing to become an English teacher. And this is the reason why she joined our course. And therefore, she's quite thankful that the course has given her the resources for this switch. And her question to you is that she likes watching films and English series like The Crown and The King's Speech and TV programs like Grand Design. And she wonders if we have suggestions for her about shows for rhotic and non-rhotic pronunciations. So, Laura, do we have any advice for Ria?
Yeah, I would say yes. So in general, we could for rhotic and non-rhotic accent, that would be like more like the British English series versus the American English series.
Right.
I find it difficult to think of a series that would be particularly suitable. For practicing particular accents. Yeah. But before I forget, I wanted to say that. I also wanted to say that, and then we can return to the matter of the series. Yeah. I also want to, so if Ria's changing her career, then I would really like to invite her to, if she would like the experience, to like also become a mentor on the MOOC, like an external mentor, like we've had, like Giang has been.
Yes, yes,
And
indeed.
many others have been. And so, so which country is she from, Maria?
She has not expressed which country she is from. She's just said the construction industry and the fact that she's an engineer. But what we could do is we could reach out to her in the MOOC and make her this offer from you, saying that if she would like to join as an external mentor, we should possibly get more insights into the language.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that would be one way forward. But indeed, I think BBC and CNN, good places to start always with practice.
Yes.
Any other suggestions? Ericka, any suggestions from you? Any shows?
Oh, I think personally, I've just been binging the newest season of the Great British Bake Show, but I just think that's a very soothing thing in general to listen to. I don't know if it really helps anyone with
No, but she
pronunciation.
does mention Master Chef, so might be a good idea. Giang, any suggestions? Any shows that you've watched that have helped?
Thanks, Amrita, and thanks for the question. Actually, I don't have a particular film or series to suggest to her, but basically, please allow me to get back to the point of non-rhotic and rhotic English. Actually, I would invite her to take a deep dive into the differences between the British English, which, as Laura said, is RP, and then the American English as a GA, as in General English, because the key differences between the English and American English are, among others, the rhoticity and non-rhoticity of English, where, for example, in American English, they pronounce the R sound wherever it appears in the spelling. And but then in British English, they only pronounce the R sound when it stands at the end of the syllable. I mean, so what I'm trying to say is that instead of trying to look for the series of the film to see the differences between the two patterns or two versions of English, I would look into the academic size of it, to explore further. I mean, the core differences between the GA and the RP. Because she wishes to become a mentor or a teacher of English. So the best way is to look for the justification, the reasons behind the whole thing, instead of looking at the surface of the pronunciation.
Indeed. Indeed. And then it adds up, because what Laura suggested, to become an external mentor, they do say the best way to learn something is to start teaching it, and you automatically acquire the tools for it. So I think that's a good suggestion. Ericka, you were saying something?
Yeah, actually, I realized it's not quite watching shows, but I do listen to a great deal of public radio. And I think if you really wanted to hear some pretty pristine examples of like very easily intelligible, clear American accents, NPR has a great number of podcasts available. You can always stream. Even me living in the Netherlands now, I still stream WNYC every morning. So I can recommend something like This American Life. Ira Glass is a very soothing speaker. So that might also be a benefit.
Might wish to look at podcasts as well. I have another question for you, Laura. This is a more general question, because we have a lot of teachers on the course, a lot of teachers, English teachers, who want to help their students, and they find the resources on the MOOC very valuable. And I was wondering if you have a message that you'd like to communicate, or any insight from your own experience that you'd like to share with them. I think
regarding teaching English pronunciation.
Indeed. And I was also wondering about the material on the course, and the usage of that. So if you have any suggestions for them.
Yeah, so the first thing I want to say is that I think that they, if they're teaching English pronunciation, that they're very brave. I've been to, I was at a conference quite a number of years ago already.
Yeah.
And there I learned that actually many non-native speakers of English, that they feel concerned or worried regarding teaching English pronunciation because of their own accent. So that this is the reason. So if you compare it to, for instance, grammar or reading or other English language skills, that I think relatively few teachers teach English pronunciation. And this is because some of them are embarrassed regarding their own accent, or they feel they're not a good example. And so you frequently see in job adverts looking for English teachers and who will also teach English pronunciation, that they should be native speakers, whereas they're not necessarily good teachers. I mean, they might well be, but they're not necessarily good teachers also. So that's the first thing that I would like to say. The second, secondly, general advice. So all the material is there for anyone to use themselves, and also to adapt in the way that they would like to.
Yeah.
And the kind of general advice that I could give regarding teaching English pronunciation. So I don't know. Again, it's what I do in my own course. So what I find frequently amongst my own students is that they feel that English pronunciation is like something that is being imposed on them,
Yeah.
or that they have no control over, or that they have no agency regarding English pronunciation. So I think it's important to give them confidence and to share with them that I think that they can be perfectly good non-native speakers of English. And what I try to do, but I have to say it also depends on the number of pupils that you have. And I have increasingly more students in my English pronunciation course. I find it increasingly more difficult. What I try to do is for them to make like a personal plan.
Yeah.
So what do they wish to? What kind of accent would they like to develop? Why do they wish to develop that kind of accent? So because of like their personal or their professional life, yeah. They have like a personal plan and working on particular features, and so to develop that accent that they are are aiming for.
Yeah, thanks.
So then they have more control, like it's something that they can also see that it's like a kind of creative. I'm not sure that I'm using the right phrase. So for English pronunciation to be imposed on them. Do you know what do you understand?
Exactly. Yeah.
That it's something they have to do and they cannot do anything about it, and they're forced and it's difficult for them and so on and so forth. So what I try to do is like create like a situation in which they feel that they have the tools to then develop the kind of accent that they're aiming for. So it's something they have control over.
Yeah.
So that is kind of like the general advice that I could share with them.
Indeed. Thanks so much, Laura. I have one more question. There we have somebody from the Netherlands. They say good afternoon from the Netherlands. So this is Anitste. Anitste, dankjewel voor jouw vraag. She says, my question is, when you are a rhotic speaker for the R, does that mean you also have to pronounce the vowels American style, like in the exercise?
That's a good question. Not necessarily, I would say. And it's interesting that the question is being asked because so again, referring to students, I have my regular pronunciation class, and so I asked them, so at the beginning of the course, so what kind of English accent do you think that you have? And they said, well, I have an American English accent. And then I said, okay, and so I listened to the accent, and really they don't have an American English accent. It's just that they pronounce R, so that they're rhotic speakers. So I think it's a good question. So you can be a rhotic speaker, but otherwise not have like typically American pronunciation features like pronouncing vowels in a certain way.
Indeed. I think that answers it beautifully.
Yeah, but
sorry.
Just a little thing I could add to that, and that's maybe that's the reason that she was thinking that or wondering that is that so we have material in the MOOC where the rhotic speaker is in fact an American English speaker.
Yeah.
And so therefore I can perfectly understand, and that's good that the question was asked.
Indeed.
Why somebody may think then I should also have American English feature, but no, that's not the case.
Yeah. So we have a tip also coming from online. So Graciela, about the previous question, says that Ria can refer to a podcast from the New York Times called The Daily for American pronunciation, and also podcast from The Guardian for British pronunciation, and they're free. So there you have it. We have plenty of interaction happening online. I'm looking at our clock and the paucity of time and everything, and I'm wondering if we should proceed further and move away a little bit from questions. And I was wondering, Giang, you've been an excellent external mentor on our course, and I was wondering, what has that experience brought for you, and what has that been like for you?
Thanks, Amrita. That's right. Thank you for the question, which is very moving, so to say. I mean, as I said, I had a great interest in phonetics and phonology back when I was at the university 20 years ago. So yes, I mean, my interest was how to say, demonstrated in trying to go deeply into the research, of the characteristics. So and over time, I have come to realize that the best way to learn English pronunciation and phonetics and phonology in more general terms is to start with the own mother tongue, with the own native language. Of course, one can say that he or she might want to listen to the pronunciation from the native speakers from, like, for example, United States or Britain, or any other English-speaking countries. But academically speaking, one has to start from his or her own mother tongue. Because why? Because you see the differences between the two versions of language. For example, please appreciate the fact that in Vietnamese, we speak each and every word with roughly equal stress. But in English, you have such phenomena as assimilation, elision, or liaison or linking. But in Vietnamese, we speak, in a quite choppy manner. And we have the one-to-one correspondence between the sound, the syllable, and the word, and therefore, I mean, and not to mention the fact that there are many sounds that do not exist in English, that do not exist in Vietnamese. Like, for example, as Laura mentioned earlier, TH sound, we don't have that sound. We don't have that sound, which is called dental sound in Vietnamese. Instead, it's treated as a alveolar sound, and you pronounce the sound by raising your tip of the tongue towards the alveolar ridge to release the sound. Therefore, many Vietnamese speakers find it very hard to pronounce the TH sound in English manner. I mean, in a similar manner, we have 29 letters in Vietnamese, and in the same way, that corresponds to the number of sounds. But in English, you have 26 letters, but at the same time, you have 44 also sounds, including 20 vowels and 24 consonants. And that makes it even harder for Vietnamese speakers to recognize which is which. And for that reason, I mean, the best way is to take a step back, and understand why it is that the English pronunciation is so difficult for Vietnamese speakers, because of the underlying differences between the two languages. I think the same for any other language that shares the characteristics of Vietnamese, so to speak. So I mean, and the more I study phonetics and phonology in an academic manner, the stronger my interest has been over time. So, so my advice to the Vietnamese learners of English in terms of pronunciation is to, like I said, is to start from the comparative language perspective. So you take the two languages from the pronunciation perspective, and then understand the different sound systems. There are quite a bit of research conducted already on this, around the world, including those from Vietnam. But I mean, they are quite hard to read, to digest, because they are quite academically oriented. But then there should be some, and also over time, given the digital transformation, I think the best way is to strike the balance between the academic knowledge that one has to capture, to master, and the applications, the digital applications that he or she should use. So it's like two sides of the same coin. So one has to, start from the academic acquisition of knowledge. That's the first thing, as an underlying asset. And then once that has been achieved or acquired, then she or he could proceed with the apps. Like in Vietnam, we have Elsa, which is quite popular here and which is quite good for young speakers of English in the country. But the bad side of that is that they don't know how to improve their own pronunciation using the app. So it's like, you come to the home and you see the signboard in front of your door saying that please go into the home to get the key. I mean, so to say, I mean, this is very hard for them to improve themselves using the apps, and without a strong understanding of the building blocks, so to say, of pronunciation. Sorry. Okay, that's for now.
Thank you, Giang. Thank you. We really appreciate that. And Giang's been doing a fantastic job being an external mentor on the MOOC, and we really appreciate your input. And we would also like to invite speakers of other native languages to also join us as external mentors. As you can see, there's a wealth of knowledge out there, and we feel like we can really build a community of learners on the MOOC and learn from each other. Today, Yuan was supposed to join us today. Yuan was also an external mentor, and it's a pity that he couldn't join us today. But we want to say a big hello to Yuan. Yuan, if you're watching us, we do miss you. We also miss Alyssa, mentor today. We miss her greatly. Alyssa, if you're watching this live, we miss you tremendously. We hope you get well soon, and we hope next live you have to be there with us. Ericka, you've been talking about a little surprise, haven't you? Like in the beginning, what is the surprise all about?
I have. I've been hinting away. So throughout the runs, we, as you can see, we're the mentors, all of us, we're always looking through, we're commenting, and we're really keeping an eye out for the standouts, and throughout each run of the MOOC, we're so encouraged to see how much the participants actually interact with each other. And really, you guys form a community around the English pronunciation learning. And especially in these times, I think it's a beautiful thing to see. And we would like to highlight learners who have invested so much of their time into not only the material, but in interacting and providing information for other learners. So this year, we noticed a few, I should say. It was really active. It was, again, really a great pleasure to see. But we did notice someone in particular who was very diligent with their interaction in the course and placing really insightful and helpful, encouraging comments that stimulated conversation for the benefit of all the fellow learners. So during these past weeks, and she happens to be a teacher in her native country. So this student is Yorva Escudero. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sorry if I'm not, but you're a teacher and maybe you can teach me how to do it sometime. But we're very, very pleased to announce that Yorva Escudero was the winner of a free upgrade. And you can reach us at the MOOC English Pro at gmail.com about the particulars. And thank you so much for your incredibly invaluable contribution to the course. And I would like to give a tiny shout out to just great, like an honorable mention, I suppose, to Amaury Borges Miranda, who also did a wonderful job interacting. So it was close, guys, but thank you so much. And we appreciate so much the community that you were able to build.
Indeed. Indeed.
So,
okay, we do have Juan joining us, but he's coming late, and I see that the beautiful black box there. Juan, can you hear us? You can unmute and say hello to all of us.
Hello, I'm so sorry. This time it was a problem with the time zone. The fact that I'm from Colombia, but I'm living in New York right now, played me this time. So I'm so sorry. I just wanted to remain silent listening to you because I was not sure whether you could hear me or not. But here I am. I guess it's too late, but at least I try. I had some issues and I couldn't even work out the things with my camera. Yeah. I'm so sorry about that.
No worries, Juan. We greatly appreciated your inputs on the MOOC run. You've been so helpful to the students and the participants. Thank you. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you for giving me the chance and the opportunity. I do hope to be in the next live session in order to, give my feedback, because I think there were so many interesting things that arose this time and that are worth discussing. Nobody's sorrier than me this time.
If you would like to mention one point, maybe we can address one point at least.
Well, I think that this one about rhotic and non-rhotic English and American and British accent was like the one that was the most discussed about. And I do have an opinion on that because my students themselves are all the time worried about that. And I pretty much agree with Laura when she says that we do have our own version of English and we shouldn't be worried about having our own accent. That shouldn't keep us from learning and that shouldn't keep us from trying. But I do prefer, and my recommendation here is that if you have the desire to give a plus to your pronunciation, try to go one path, either speak with an American accent, with a British accent, with your own accent, but try to mix it, try not to mix as much as possible. So this question about the vowels, there's nothing wrong with mixing the vowel sounds and then having this rhotic, let's say, accent. But if you really want to give a plus to your pronunciation, why not try to, okay, I have a rhotic English, so let's try to pronounce the vowels in the American way, or I have a non-rhotic English, so let's try to pronounce the vowels in the British way. Why not, right? And I do agree pretty much with the person who won this little contest we had. Undoubtedly, this was the most active participant. So congratulations to you there.
Thank you so much, Juan. Thank you for that share. I'm glad at least you got to be a little part of the live still. So we do appreciate that.
I promise I won't miss the next one.
Okay, I'm going to hold you up for that. So just you watch out. But thanks, Juan. It's amazing that even this group of people, we all speak English so differently. So I hope the people watching the live or watching the video recording later on notice that we each have our own way and manner of speaking in English. Thank you for announcing the winner, Ericka. And please do get in touch with us through our email address so that we can send the coupon code to you. Laura, a final message for our viewers and participants.
Amrita, before
Yes.
Laura speaks, may I, take this opportunity to speak one more word?
Of course, of course.
Yeah, I mean, I have two things to say. The first thing is that because first of all, people talked a lot about the accent, and then on the other side, the pronunciation. In my view, I mean, accent is something specific to a person. It's it's quite unique, whereas pronunciation is so to say it's universal. In other words, please do not concern too much about the accent. So instead, just focus on acquiring the rules, including the vowels and consonants, and then the phonological rules or pronunciation rules, so as to improve yourself over time. So I mean, that's just want to emphasize the difference between the accent and then the pronunciation. That's the number one. So I would like to share further with Yuan, and also I would like to echo his words in thanking you. I mean, this is my first time I've been to this MOOC in the past few months, but I felt very lucky already, to be part of your professional community. I've learned, an awful lot of from everyone around the world, including the differences in accents and then pronunciation troubles that people have. So please do include me in the next run, or whatever endeavor you are trying to do, so that we are trying to contribute in a humble way to the improvement of English pronunciation for people around the world, including the fellow citizens from my own country, Vietnam. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Giang. Thank you for that very generous offer. We'll definitely keep that in mind. And thank you for your very kind words. Laura, if I can give the floor to you.
Yeah, so I would also like to, to thank Giang and Yuan for being external mentors on the MOOC very much. So I will come back to that, and also I would like to thank Amrita and Ericka and Alyssa again for helping facilitating the run. I would certainly also like to thank the learners, the participants in the MOOC, and we've chosen one winner. But I know that there are many people contribute comments, and I would perfectly agree with Giang that I hope that the MOOC is useful for the participants in helping learning English pronunciation. But we also learn a lot from the comments that are being made by the learners. We really learn a lot, and your comments, they help us further develop the MOOC. So we try to include as much of the feedback that we get, but also if I find comments regarding a particular language and features that are difficult for speakers, native speakers of that language, then we try to incorporate that in the MOOC also. So I would say, unfortunately, the facilitated run will come to an end this week.
Yes.
But you can still contact us via email.
Yeah.
So please, if you have any further suggestions or feedback where the MOOC is concerned, then we're very happy for you to send your feedback to us. Also, we would like to, as Amrita already mentioned, so we like to continue being a community, and so we have our Facebook page. And certainly another possibilities for, I understand there are many teachers of English that were participating in the MOOC this run, and as we were saying, if you're interested, or so please be an external mentor on the MOOC, because it helps us really external mentors speaking various native languages to then be able to help speakers of those native languages that have particular pronunciation problems. In other words, a big thank you to all of you.
No, thank you. Thank you, Laura. Laura, you're an inspiration to many of us, to us who work closely with you as a team. You're an inspirational leader, the work that you tirelessly do for us, for the entire learning community. Thank you for that as well. I'll give the floor to Ericka, but Ericka, before I give the floor to you, I just want to confirm one thing. I want to say that do not forget our email address, moocenglishpro@gmail.com. You can write to us, contact us. You can also access us through our Facebook page. Ericka, here's to you.
Okay, so thank you, Laura and Amrita and Giang and Yuan. And thank you to everyone who's joined us today. If you missed the live session, you can always watch it on YouTube. This will be saved. And please share the information and share the links with your fellow learners. And if you do see yourself as being a good fit as a mentor, feel free to reach out to us through the email. Again, that's moocenglishpro@gmail.com. Additionally, we do have a Facebook group if you want to keep your little community alive and more actively interact with each other. Maybe without us in the way as much. I don't know if you have a strong commentary.
Or maybe complain about us there.
Yeah, complain more directly to us. So yes, we have a Facebook group, an Instagram, and a Twitter. And we are checking all of them, even when we're not in a facilitated run. So you can always reference your questions there. And yeah, if you want to be a mentor, yeah, you can reach out to us. We will send you an application. And on behalf of Vrije Universiteit in Amsterdam, Future Learn, and our whole team, we wish you good luck and good health.
Good health. Stay safe.
Stay safe.
We'll
Yeah.
say bye to our